Good morning, Ms. Sevillano. Me and my group will be reporting the topic cost control. So the main ideas of cost control are the labor expense in the hospitality industry, assessing labor productivity, maintaining a productive workforce, measuring current labor productivity, managing payroll costs, reducing labor-related costs, and lastly is technology tools. So in today's market, labor is so expensive in some food service establishments. The cost of labor actually exceeds the cost of food and beverage products. So in labor expense includes salaries and wages, but it consists of other labor-related costs as well. So for example, unemployment taxes, workers' compensation, group life insurance, health insurance, and many more. So, in labor expense in the hospitality industry, so there are ways on how people should pay their employees. So, such as payroll, it refers to the gross pay received by an employee in exchange for his or her work. So, this is very common. Dili na ni siya bag-o nato. So, this is how people should, or businessmen, how should give salaries to their employees. So, for example, payroll. So, a salary employee receives the same income per week or month regardless of the number of hours worked. Another is minimum staff. It is used to designate the least number of employees or payroll dollars needed to operate a facility or department within a facility. So, next is fixed payroll. So, it refers to the amount an operation pays in salaries. Next is variable payroll. It consists of those dollars paid to hourly employees. So, here's the thing. Do not confuse minimum staff with the fixed and variable payroll. So, the difference between those are fixed pay is the fixed amount of salary that an employee gets at the end of the month, whereas variable pay is the incentive paid to the employee, monetary or non-monetary. So, based on their performance for the month. So, the ratio of fixed to the variable components as a norm varies based on the role of the employee plays. So another is management has little control over fixed labor expense, but nearly 100% control over variable labor expense. So labor expense refers to the total of all costs associated with maintaining a food service workforce. So total labor expense will always exceed that of payroll. So payroll is considered a controllable labor expense, unlike FICA or FICA taxes and insurance premiums. So, but in reality, managers may even be able to influence some of the non-controllable labor expense, such as providing a training program to reduce injuries and insurance premium. So next is assessing labor productivity. Productivity is the amount of work performed by an employee is in a fixed period of time. So there are many ways to assess labor productivity. In general, productivity is measured in terms of the productivity ratio as follows. So, output over input equals productivity ratio. 10 key factors affecting employee productivity. First is employee selection. Second is training. Third is prevention. Fourth is scheduling. Fifth is breaks. Sixth is morale. 7 is menu. 8th is convenience versus scratch preparation. 9th is equipment. And lastly, 10, service level desired.
Maintaining a product workforce employee selection accomplished by the employee hired for fill a particular position. A job specification is a listing of the personal characteristics needed to perform the task contained in particular job description. The employment application is a document completed by the candidate for employment. A job description is a listing of the tasks that must be job interview, if improperly performed, can subject an employer to legal liability. Pre-employment testing is a common way to help improve employee productivity. Maintaining a product workforce employee selection. Scale tests can include activities such as typing tests and computer application tests. Psychological testing can include personality tests, tests designed to predict performance, or tests of mental ability. Pre-employment drug testing is used to determine if an application used drugs. Recently, hospitality employers are utilizing background checks prior to hiring employees in selected positions. Not conducting background checks on some positions can subject the employer to potential litigation under the doctrine of negligent hiring, that is a failure on that part of an employer to exercise reasonable care in the selection of employees. Maintaining a product workforce training. Effective training will improve job satisfaction and instill in employees a sense of well-being accomplishment. It will also reduce conversion, product waste, and loss of gas. Effectively, training begins with a good orientation program. Thus, training is the training undertaking to ensure an employee has the skill to meet productivity goals. Maintaining a productive workforce supervision. Proper supervision means assisting employees in improving productivity. This is why it is so important for manager to be on the floor, in other words, in dining area, during meal periods, even with a highly productive employees. Poor employee scheduling by management can result in a low productivity ratio. Proper scheduling ensures that correct number of employees is available to do the necessary amount of work. Spec shift in the technique used to match individual employee work shift with peaks and valleys of customer demand. Example, schedule. Maintaining a productive workforce breaks. Employees have both a physical and a mental need for breaks from their work. Employees need to know that management cares enough to establish a break schedule and stick to it. Management should view breaks as a necessary part of maintaining a highly productive workforce, not as lost or wasted time.
Maintaining a productive workforce morale. Management must create a fun, motivating environment for employees to work in. Motivated groups usually work for a management team that has created a vision, communicated the vision to employees, and ensured that employees share the vision. Creating a vision is nothing more than finding a purpose for the workforce. A shared purpose between management and employees is important for the development and maintenance of high morale. Recognize all employees for what they do best, even the dishwasher. Employee turnover is high in some sections of the hospitality industry. By some estimates, it exceeds 200% per year. Employee turnover rate equals number of employees separated over number of separated in workforce. How do we calculate employee turnover? So, divide the sum total of the number of employees that live within a specific period of time, month, quarter, year, etc., by the average number of employees that work within the selected time frame. Multiply that number by 100 to calculate the employees' turnover rate. For example, if you have an average of 140 employees working during a month's time and 26 employees leave, your turnover rate would be around 18.6%. Like 26 divided by 140 multiplied by 100 equals 18.57. So, maround off pa man nato maong 18.6. Some food service operators prefer to distinguish between voluntary and involuntary separation. A voluntary separation is one in which the employees made the decision to leave the organization. And involuntary separation is one in which management has caused the employees to separate from the organization. So, ang voluntary turnover pod is any instance in which an employee actively chooses to leave. This can happen as a result of better job opportunities elsewhere, conflict within the workplace, disengagement, and more. And ang involuntary turnover pod is when an employer chooses to terminate an employee or remove them permanently from the group in question, possibly because of poor performance, toxic behavior, and other reasons. Menu. In general, the more variety of items a kitchen is asked to produce, the less efficient that kitchen will be. Menu items must also be selected to complement the skill level of the employees and the equipment available to produce the menu item. Since most operations change their menus infrequently, it is critical that the menu item selected can be prepared efficiently and well. Convenience versus scratch preparation. So, generally, scratch cooking is less expensive, tastes better, and is more nutritious than fast foods or convenience foods. However, it usually takes longer to prepare. The trade-off for convenience is usually money. Frequent meals of fast foods and restaurant fare can raise havoc with a food budget. And also, convenience versus scratch preparation, the decision of whether to make or buy, involves two major factors: that product quality and the product cost. It is important to remember that make or buy decisions affect both food and labor costs. Management, often in consultation with kitchen production staff, must resolve make or buy decision. And equipment. Equipment should be properly maintained and updated if employees are to be held accountable for productivity standards or gains. Sharp knives cut faster.
Maintaining a productive workforce service level desire. When management varies service level, it varies employee productivity ratio. So, in management, it is important that the service level and employee productivity ratios must both varies or integrate in a firm in order to have a higher level of customer service, because if one of it will tend to go down, for example, the employee productivity ratio will tend to go down, there is a big possibility that the customer service will lower. And whereas the customer service is very important in all kind of firm. Next, are you a quick service restaurant or an exclusive friend style restaurant? When we say quick service restaurant, employee can serve more guests in an hour. And in quick service situation, speed, not total service render, is of the utmost important. While in the French style restaurant, service is to be more elegant and the total service render is of much higher level. Measuring current labor productivity. So there are 5 formulas in measuring current labor productivity. So the first one is to get the labor cost percentage. So in order to get the labor cost percentage, we will divide the cost of labor divided by the total sale. And the next, the total sale divided by labor hours used is equal to sale per labor hour. Next, cost of labor divided by gas served is equal to dollar label dollar per gas served. And the fourth one is how to get the gas served per label dollar. So we will divide the gas served and the cost of labor. So the last one is gas served divided by labor hour used is equal to gas served per labor hour. Problem number 1, example of labor cost percentage. Problem number 2, example of all the ways to measure productivity. Many operators prefer to compute their productivity measure on a daily rather than on a weekly or monthly basis. This can be easily be done by using a 6-column from with cost of labor, sales, and labor cost percentage. An operator may establish labor subcategories such as production, service, sanitation, and management, and labor costs for each subcategory can be estimated. By following the rules of the algebra and adding the word estimated, the gas served per labor dollar formula can be restated as follow to estimate costs for labor subcategories or total labor. So the formula of it is the number of estimated gas served divided by gas served per labor dollar is equal to estimated cost of labor. Managing payroll costs. Essentially, the management of payroll costs is a 4-step process which include the following factor. First one, determine productivity standards. The second, forecast sale volume. The third, schedule employees using productivity standard and forecast sale volume. And the fourth is analyze result. So those are the 4-step process of managing payroll costs.
Managing payroll costs, determining productivity standards. A productivity standard is defined as management's view of what constitutes an appropriate productivity ratio is given a food service unit or units. So a productivity standards is the ratio between input or output, or more explicitly, ratio between the amount produced and the amount of any resources used in the course of production. So, productivity standards are typically based on the following types of information like unit history, company average, industry average, management experience, or a combination of some of all the above. Is managing payroll costs for sales volume. Sales volume forecasting, when combined with established productivity standards, allow a service operator to determine the number of employees needed to effectively serve those guests who will visit the facility. So it refers to the number of units your company sells during a specific reporting period. Managing payroll costs, schedule employees using productivity standards and forecasted sales volume. You can establish a labor budget using your productivity standards, your sales forecast, and the labor cost percentage formula you have already learned. Remember that the labor cost percentage formula is defined as cost of labor over total sales equals labor cost percent. If you conclude the words forecasted, standards, and budget and follow the rules of algebra, the labor cost percentage formula can be resisted as follows. Forecasted total sales times labor cost percent standard equals cost of labor budget. Next is managing payroll cost, schedule employees using productivity standard and forecasted sales volume. You can establish a budget for a total number of labor hours needed to serve your establishment. So guests served divided by labor hour used equals guests served per labor hour. If you conclude the word forecasted, standard, and budget, and follow the rules of algebra, the guest served per labor hour formula can be resisted as follows. So, for forecasted numbers of guests served per labor hour standard equals labor hours budget. Payroll cost schedules employees using productivity standards and forecasted sales volume. Some food service managers practice an on-call system whereby employees who are off-duty are assigned to on-call status. Other managers practice a call-in system. So in this arrangement, employees who are off-duty are required to check in with management on a daily basis to see if the volume of such that they might be needed. Schedule modification should be done hourly. Necessarily, it is critical to match labor usage with project volume.
Hi, my name is Francis Mendalis and I'm here to report a managing payroll costs analysis result. To complete the job managing labor-related expense, you must now analyze your result by comparing actual labor costs to budgeted labor costs since actual employee costs allocable to the manufacturer collaboration compound while budgeted labor costs mean calculate the number of labor hours that will be needed to produce the units itemized in the production budget. Reducing labor-related costs. If management find that labor costs are too high, problem areas may be identified and corrective action must be taken. Ways to reduce fixed labor costs include number one, improved productivity. Number two, increase sales volume. Mm, Number three, combine jobs to eliminate fixed position. And number four, reduce wage paid to the fixed payroll employees. And there is the way to reduce variable labor costs. Include number one, improve productivity. Number two, schedule appropriately to adjust to change in sales volume. Number three, combine jobs to eliminate variable position. And number four, reduce wage to pay the variable employees. Reducing labor-related costs. One way to increase productivity and reduce labor-related expenses through employee empowerment, involving employees in decision-making process. Today, employees have come to realize there is more life than work. Management, unable to always offer more money, has been forced to come up with new incentive. Employees are seeking job satisfaction in addition to salaries or wage. Technology tools. Current software program can help you manage and control labor costs, including the following tasks. Maintain employment record. Conduct and records the result of online or computer-based training programs. Compute voluntary and involuntary employee turnover rates by department. Track employees' lost days due injury, accident. Maintain employees' availability records. Develop employee schedules and interface employee schedule with time clock system. Monitor overtime costs. Maintain job description and specification. Develop and maintain daily, weekly, and monthly productivity reports. Interface employees and scheduling component with versus sales volume software.